Now that we're finished up with 2023, moving into 2024, I thought that we would spend our market update here in January talking about last year and how it's comparing to this year. And then also, I know what you've all been waiting for is my predictions for 2024. I've never done predictions, so one thing you know about predictions is they're guaranteed to be wrong, but here's my best try. So if we first look at the average sales price in Columbus was up by 5% compared to 2022 at the end of the year. So that was definitely more than experts were predicting. Most were actually predicting a small decline for last year, but with the drop in rates early in the year and the very competitive market, it really produced more bidding wars and drove the price up in a way that they weren't expecting. The second thing we're going to look at is the number of new listings. So the number of new listings had to be probably the second highest story of the year next to interest rates. They were down by just under 12% market wide. So the total number of new listings in Central Ohio was 32,022 in the MLS. And in 2022, there were 36,348 homes listed for sale. So that was a difference of over 4,200 homes that never hit the market. And so for those of you that might have been looking at buying, that was definitely something that you were feeling in the market. The inventory at the end of the year, at the end of December, was 3,156, which was up about 9.5% compared to the year before. But it only amounted to a couple hundred different homes, around 200, just around 200 homes difference. So again, at the end of the year, we don't typically have nearly as many homes on the market. So that percentage difference number was a lot bigger than the actual number. Interest rates, ironically enough, even though they moved a lot during the year of 2023, they were actually almost exactly the same at the start of 2024 as they were at the start of 2023. So right around 6.2% as an average. Now they have actually inched up since then here in January, which we can talk about in a later video. But the beginning of the year started off exactly the same. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's jump into my predictions for the 2024 real estate market here in Central Ohio. So number one, the biggest thing that has driven the market over the last 18 months has absolutely been the interest rate. And it's not necessarily been that initial number, but it's been the changes and the fluctuations in rates. Whenever we've seen rates go up, they've tended to go up very quickly. And so it catches buyers off guard. It drastically changes their payment in just a small time period. And so we've seen major slowdowns. When the rates have come down, we've seen buyers kind of jump into the market, flood into the market faster than sellers, who typically are also buyers as well, can get their house on the market. And so when you have a flood of buyers and low inventory, you tend to get bidding wars, you tend to get prices rising quickly. And so it's been just a very bizarre market. It seems like it's either been super hot or definitely much cooler. Now, that being said, my prediction for interest rates this year, we've kind of trended up to the high sixes here over the last 3 or 4 weeks. However, my prediction is that we're probably going to stay somewhere in the mid sixes. It's probably going to trend somewhere between 6.25 and 6.75 for the majority of the year. I do think as we move towards the end of this year, that we'll probably start to get closer to the lower sixes and maybe even see the high fives by the end of this year. We don't expect rates to go down drastically, honestly, at any point in the next 2 or 3 years. We believe, and the Fed has said, that they have an interest in keeping rates kind of in that 5 to 6%, maybe even a little bit over range. So we're not anticipating that this is the beginning of a huge trend back to 2.5 or 3. It's more like a slow kind of trend down to where the Fed would like to see them remain long term to kind of keep inflation in check. We do think inventory is going to be up compared to last year. Last year, inventories were at their lowest levels that we've seen in a very long time, and actually the number of sales being all the way down to that 32,000 number is the lowest number of sales Central Ohio's seen in a very long time. So we do anticipate that number to go up. And inventory means the number of homes on the market. The more homes that are on the market at any given time is going to be indicative of how competitive the market is. So the more homes we have, typically the less competitive things are going to be on each home. I think we have a long ways to go. I think right now we've been at we ended the year at 1.4 months of inventory. To put that into perspective, a balanced market is somewhere between 3 and 6 months of inventory. So we have a long ways to go. We would have to double, maybe even quadruple our inventory. I don't see quadrupling happen, but I think we could get into that 2 to 3 months of inventory if the trends that we've started the year with continue. And that the biggest trend is that we're up by about 20% compared to the same time last year. So we'll see if that trend continues, but if it does, I would anticipate that we'll maybe get into that 4,000 to 5,000 homes for sale range, and that would be very, very big compared to where we've been over the last few years. Because of the extra inventory and relatively lower interest rates, I do expect the number of sales to also go up compared to last year. I would anticipate them probably to trend upward closer to where we were in 2022, so somewhere around 35, 36,000. If we see rates drop down below 6 earlier in the year, then I think that we have the potential to even go above that, because I do think there's a lot of pent-up buyer demand, a lot of buyers that have sat on the sidelines for the last 18 months kind of waiting for lower rates. And I think if we see consistently lower rates, especially during the spring and summer season, we could see a pretty big pop in activity and buyers kind of coming out. Prices are going to remain kind of on that level upward trend. Columbus is a growing market with a growing population. We're adding jobs. And so for that reason, we just don't have enough housing supply to keep up. So I do think prices are going to continue to go up due to our relative affordability to the rest of the country. And so I would expect prices to go up somewhere between 3 and 5%. I'm going to force myself to pick a number, and I'm going to pick the number of 5. I do think we're going to see a little bit of odd seasonality due to the presidential election. Also, the potential for a recession here early in the year that could put a damper on activity at some point in the spring. But given the way we've started off, that's looking less and less likely. So I'm going to go with 5% on the appreciation number year over year. But realistically, I think it could be lower. The seasonality, though, is definitely going to be a thing this year. If we avoid that recession, I think we'll kind of move into the spring and summer market with a lot of momentum. But because we do have a significant presidential election this year, I do think that we'll see a slowdown kind of towards the end of the third quarter and obviously the beginning of the fourth quarter. And then probably, assuming rates do what we think they're going to do and continue trending downward, I think once the election's over, we'll see people take a deep breath. It doesn't really matter which way it goes. People just like certainty. And so if rates can remain relatively affordable compared to where they were a year ago, last fall, and then we also get past the uncertainty of who's going to be the president, I would expect that we could see a stronger than normal November and December, probably January of 2025. So those are my predictions for 2024 real estate in Central Ohio. I hope it's been valuable. I hope you enjoyed it. I would say the only wild card that I haven't talked about in addition to the presidential election is geopolitics. Obviously, there are conflicts going on in other parts of the world that we've kind of gotten pulled into. Not going to go into policy and all that stuff, but if it turns into a bigger war type environment, then obviously all of these bets are going to be off. And I would say the same if we go into a deep recession, meaning if we start to see a lot of job losses. Even though I think Central Ohio is going to fare better than the rest of the nation, it could absolutely impact especially the appreciation number, because I think we could see more inventory come on the market. And if we don't see buyer demand keep up with that, that's going to put downward pressure on prices. So thanks so much for watching, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Throw a comment below. Would love to have some conversation around this, and have a great 2024. And we look forward to helping you buy, sell, or invest in real estate here in Central Ohio. Have an awesome day.